Welcome to NTD China News. I'm Karen Chang. Making headlines this Friday, December 14th. Tensions flare over the East China Sea. A new battlefield for corruption in China. And what did Jackie Chan say that's angered the Hong Kong public? The Chinese regime has defended its actions after a Chinese plane flew over waters in dispute with Japan. The latest flare-up in tensions comes after new leader Xi Jinping called for a strengthening of the military. Japan has lodged a complaint over the action, along with its own show of force.
On Thursday, Japan sent 8 F-15 fighter jets into the airspace above sea areas in dispute with China. It comes after a Chinese plane entered the space earlier that day. During a press conference today, China's foreign ministry spokesman said it was, quote, totally normal for Chinese planes to patrol the space above the Diaoyu Islands. China says it owns the islands, but Japan, who calls the island chain the Senkaku Islands, says it has sovereignty over them. Thursday's events followed recent calls by new Communist Party chief Xi Jinping to strengthen the military. It also coincided with the 75th anniversary of the Nanjing massacre. That was when Japanese forces invaded China during World War II and killed an estimated 300,000 people. The incident remains a source of deep-seated tensions.
The regime is showing signs of flexing its military might. It has to do with Xi Jinping's recent emphasis on national rejuvenation. It's showing aggression externally and pushing nationalism internally. It's aimed at redirecting focus away from its internal conflicts and helping to establish its rule.
Complaints have come from both countries in recent months over what each side calls the other's, quote, illegal activities in the disputed waters. The uninhabited Diaoyu or Senkaku Islands are situated in the East China Sea. They're believed to be rich in oil reserves.
China's new leaders are widely believed to be launching a major corruption crackdown within the Communist Party. Already, a number of officials have been sacked over leaked information of sexual or financial scandals. Many of the exposés haven't come from investigators, though. The online community has taken on that role.
China's Twitter equivalent microblogs have become the main anti-corruption battlefield, with officials being exposed and some being dismissed from their jobs. Since the 18th Party Congress in November, netizens have exposed more than half a dozen officials online. They provided evidence like photos and videos, prompting the Communist Party's Central Commission for Discipline Inspection to investigate the alleged misconducts. Legal scholar Zhao Yuanming says the internet has taken on this role because the anti-corruption mechanism within the communist regime is inadequate.
Fighting corruption and upholding discipline can't come from within the party's internal supervision. That system is not reliable and there isn't a team that really works to benefit the people. The public is usually the direct victim of corruption and the evidence it provides are often more trustworthy.
China's new leader Xi Jinping has been repeating calls against corruption. Resulting from that is the removal of at least 11 officials since November. The cases don't just involve corruption, but also allegations of sexual misconduct and blackmail. Party leaders are desperate, analysts say, to give the appearance of fighting corruption. Yet it may be too little too late.
When some communist officials are promoted, they need to assert their position through things like fighting corruption because new leaders want to create a new image. But the anti-corruption effort is only going after the small fish. The purpose is to win over public opinion. The other is to tackle political foes. So it won't really fix the root cause of corruption.
China has around 300 million microblog users. Historian Li Yuanhua says the number of cases reported online is insignificant compared to the real number of corrupt officials. But he adds the current trend is helping to uncover corrupt and indecent officials.
A knife-wielding man injured 22 children and 1 adult in China today. It happened outside a rural primary school in Henan province. The local newspaper said none of the wounds were fatal, but at least 2 of the children are in intensive care. The suspect, 36-year-old local resident Ming Yingjun, has been detained. Authorities have not given a motive for the attack. Today's incident echoes similar ones from 2010 that occurred at random around China. Almost 20 children were killed and over 50 people injured in violent attacks near schools. Some blame China's poor mental health care system. It's almost non-existent in rural communities like this one. Jackie Chan is famous for his unique brand of comedy and kung fu action movies, but lately he's been gaining recognition for a different kind of fighting. What did he tell a Chinese magazine recently that's got Hong Kong people all riled up?
Kung fu movie star Jackie Chan is once again in the spotlight, but not for his movies. Jackie Chan's latest opponent is Hong Kong's freedoms. The Southern People Weekly magazine on Wednesday published an interview with Jackie Chan. The actor said that Hong Kong has become a hotbed for protest and it needs to change. He says there should be regulations on what people can and can't protest. He did not say who should make those decisions. The comments have caused an outcry from Hong Kong residents who cherish civil freedoms that can't be found in mainland China.
It's our right to protest. Hong Kong people don't feel it's anything strange to protest. People have the right to speak out.
This Hong Kong resident says the protests are a result of policies by Hong Kong's leader.
There have been many protests in Hong Kong recently. I think it's because Leung Chun-ying has made many policies that are pro-Communist Party.
Chan's comments echo similar ones he made in 2009. He questioned whether freedom was good or not and said he was, quote, beginning to feel that we Chinese need to be controlled.
It's been hailed as a win for internet freedom. An attempt by countries including Russia and China to let individual governments control cyberspace has been knocked back today in Dubai. 55 countries, including the US, UK and Canada, refused to sign an updated treaty on telecommunications under the International Telecommunications Union. The ITU is a branch of the United Nations. It's responsible for setting the international telecommunications regulation. Members of the ITU have been meeting in Dubai over the past 2 weeks on the first changes to the 1988 treaty. Russia and China were among the 89 nations that signed the updated treaty today. It included a non-binding clause that called for the promotion of internet growth, including giving all countries an equal role to govern the internet. Countries that refused to sign say the treaty should not extend to matters related to the internet. They argue it would change the current nature of the internet, which has virtually no governance by any one group or government. And coming up after the break, iPhone 5 releases in China, but where's the crowd? The cost of living skyrockets in Beijing and Shanghai, and the renaissance of Chinese culture in Argentina. And welcome back. The iPhone 5 was released in China today, 2 weeks after Hong Kong and a few months after the US and Europe. The lines were also a little behind those other countries, with some stores seeing just 1 or 2 waiting customers.
It doesn't quite look like it, but it was the launch of Apple Inc.'s iPhone 5 in China today. In Beijing, the recent snowfall may have kept Apple fans indoors, but others speculated has more to do with the iPhone's popularity.
The price of an iPhone on the domestic market is still quite high, and personally I don't have very high demands in terms of functions. I can normally use the computer to complete the tasks that I need to do.
Research firm IDC says Apple ranked 6th in China's smartphone market from July through September. One complaint is that iPhone 5 is something of a luxury phone, costing around $850.
If they want to expand their market share, probably the only way for them to do it here dramatically would be put out a lower cost phone. And it's really uncertain if they would decide to go that route. It's something they've really not considered before, but we'll just have to wait and see. Apple's a mystery in that regard.
Apple also has no contract with China's biggest cell phone service provider. China Mobile has more than half the country's cell phone market, another reason the iPhone 5 didn't make such a splash. Still, there are Apple loyalists. Some have already bought the phone overseas, others reserve them online. This Apple fan says she's ready to add the iPhone 5 to her Apple product collection.
I bought an Apple MP3 player, iPod Touch, and Apple laptop. Overall, the image is more detailed, and overall, I like it much more than the Android system. Plus, I think the design is better suited to female users.
Despite the small lines, China is still Apple's second largest and fastest growing market, accounting for about 15% of its overall revenue.
Beijing and Shanghai are becoming more expensive to live in than ever, according to a new survey. The two Chinese metropolises have overtaken Singapore and Hong Kong, and residents there say they're feeling the pinch on their wallets.
A new survey from management company ECA International reveals that both Beijing and Shanghai have higher living costs than Singapore and Hong Kong. China is home to 16 of Asia's top 50 most expensive cities. Beijing is ranked the 5th most expensive location in Asia. Japanese cities such as Tokyo are the 4 most expensive. In 6th place is Seoul, followed by Shanghai, Singapore and Hong Kong. Beijing rose to 22nd most expensive city in the world. Last year it ranked 35 out of 425. Shanghai moved up to 26th from its previous position in 41st place. Other expensive cities in the mainland include Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Shenyang, Tianjin, Qingdao, Dalian, Chongqing, Suzhou, Chengdu, Wuhan, Xiamen, Nanjing and Xi'an. ECA International Regional Director Li Quan says inflation and a strengthening of the RMB against major currencies are, quote, 2 factors that have together contributed to pushing up the costs of living in China's cities significantly. And the currency inflation is being felt by many. Zhu Rikun is an independent filmmaker living in Beijing. He says prices are skyrocketing. With rice or things related to ordinary living, all have shot up, especially over the last couple of years. Previously, rice prices were over 1 yuan per jin. Now rice of very mediocre quality costs about 2.5 yuan per jin. It has increased by 50 to 60%, a sharp increase, really. Guangzhou-based painter He Guochen says that after the 18th Party Congress ended last month, prices have gradually gone up. The costs of living have all risen. Apparently housing prices are dropping, but the cost of daily meat and eggs have all soared. Egg prices surged in the last couple of days, costing about 5 yuan per jin, up from the previous price of just over 4 yuan. Filmmaker Zhu Rikun says that price increases have put pressure on the wage-earning class. It's certainly a pressure for the ordinary masses. Most of their income goes to basic life expenses. For any ordinary salaried people, this is a very heavy burden indeed. ECA's survey included daily necessities, food, meals out, transportation, clothing and more. It excluded the cost of housing or school fees. ECA believes that prices will continue to rise.
A Chinese farmer has turned his daughter's fear of natural disasters into big business. At least that's what he hopes. Here's a look at one man's attempt to expect the unexpected.
A farmer from northern China has designed and built his own version of Noah's Ark, or perhaps Noah's Beach Ball is a little more accurate. It's a survival precaution for doomsday, which many believe will be December 21st, 2012.
2012 won't necessarily happen, but you can be sure disasters will happen around the world in the future. For example, tsunamis, shipwrecks on open sea or earthquakes. Accidents happen every year. So I thought I should make one of these, and I started from around last September, just sketching whenever I had time.
Li Qiyuan from China's Hebei province has spent over a year and around $3,000 making 7 versions of the pod, which he hopes will one day be mass-produced. He was inspired to build the arks by his young daughter's fear of natural disasters. Each pod weighs 10,000 pounds, measures 14 feet in diameter, and can carry up to 30 people. Equipment includes seat belts, oxygen tanks, power generators, batteries, and enough food supplies for 2 months. One can be seen bobbing along in a canal near Liu's village beside small fishing boats. As to whether Liu believes in doomsday, he had these words of wisdom to say.
So many people don't prepare and only think about the event once it's already happened. I think that's a mistake. There's a Chinese saying that goes, it's better to be prepared for nothing than to be unprepared for something. I think that's something worth thinking about.
And so many have begun to prepare. There's been a rush on candles in southwest China after rumors that December 21st would be followed by 3 days and nights of total darkness.
Shen Yun Performing Arts, the classical Chinese dance company devoted to spreading traditional Chinese culture, started its 2013 season today. The opening kicked off in Argentina, and let's hear what audiences had to say.
Shen Yun Performing Arts opened its 2013 world tour in the celebrated Opera City Theater in Buenos Aires, Argentina on Thursday. Antonio Grimal, award-winning film and TV actor from Argentina, came to the opening performance. He was astounded by its artistic excellence. I think this is of a terrific artistic level and stage discipline. Each one of the anecdotes has a great level of depth, told with gesture and body language that is absolutely praiseworthy. The famous actor was also touched by the deep meaning behind each piece of the show. It has a sublime message, a sensitive, delicate message that moves you and makes you want to see more of these kinds of things. It has the ability to touch you greatly because it's clear on each message it conveys. And with simplicity, in the best sense of the word, it has great profoundness. This year's Shen Yun program includes such dance pieces as Tang Dynasty Battleground, Bai Ethnic Dance, Phoenix Fairies, the Mongolian Bull Dance, the Han Imperial Air Dance, and the Emperor Journeys to the Moon, about the great poet Li Bai. It is astonishing, really, to encounter that great history behind each piece is really moving. This is truly watching such a rich experience, very rich culturally. It's the second time Shen Yun has performed in Argentina since 2009. It is an honor, and we are proud to receive them. Shen Yun, a warm welcome for all of them. Shen Yun will perform in the Opera City Theater from December 13th to the 21st.
And that's all for this broadcast of NTD China News. For more on China-related topics, visit our website at ntd.tv or subscribe to NTD's new YouTube channel, NTD on China, where you'll find all of NTD's China content. Coming up next is this week's episode of Discovering China. Stay tuned.